This is Ethan, and I'm here with Dave, and together we are Dave and Ethan's 2000-inch Weird Al podcast, episode 205-inch.
On this episode, we deep dive into Weird the Al Yankovic Story with production designer Dan Butts in part 3 of our interview.
It's Dave and Ethan's 2000-inch Weird Al podcast.
It's a podcast about Weird Al.
It's Dave and Ethan's 2000-inch Weird Al podcast.
Seriously, the whole podcast is about Weird
It's
Al.
Dave and Ethan's 2000-inch Weird Al podcast.
You don't have to listen, but we're glad you are.
Dave and Ethan's 2000-inch Weird Al podcast.
Hey Dave, you're back! It's really you!
Yes, I am back. It is really me.
How was your vacation?
Oh, it was so great, and believe me, it was very well needed. So I trust that everything went smoothly with the podcast while I was out and recovering from the said vacation over the past few weeks.
Well, actually, the Dave AI that we were using to perfectly replicate your voice was kind of malfunctioning a bit.
Really? I thought Frank tested that thing thoroughly. What happened?
Well, for one, it started rambling incoherently about pizza toppings and Warlord Cowcow's victory at the Battle of Nanpi.
What? Get it. Let me see that. Oh, here's the problem. It was set on food in China's Eastern Han Dynasty mode.
Oh, okay. Well, that makes a lot of sense. Phew. Well, should we just use the Dave AI for the rest of this episode?
Sure, whatever.
Okay, perfect timing, because now it's time for What's Happening in Weird Al Related News!
Weird the Al Yankovic Story will finally be available to watch without commercials.
Well, technically, it was already available to watch without commercials, at its various screenings and through international physical releases, but this will be the easiest way for most of our North American listeners to finally watch it.
All right, so the first date you need to know is November 10th. That is when the film will drop to purchase digitally from wherever you purchase your digital movies.
And the next date you need to know is December 12th. That's the official release date for Weird on DVD, Blu-ray, and 4K.
Shout Factory is producing and releasing the physical releases. And if that name sounds familiar, that's because Shout Factory has been very good to Weird Al fans, previously releasing UHF on DVD and Blu-ray, The Weird Al Show on DVD, and The Complete Al on DVD.
While there have yet to be any announcements on the special features included, the Shout Factory website does say extras in progress and will be announced at a later date.
Now, some of the previous Weird Al related releases via Shout Factory, namely the UHF 25th Anniversary DVD and Blu-ray, included a limited edition poster, so we are very excited to see what extras they may come up with this time. And Ethan, since we're speculating, what would you like to see included with this release?
Well, I'd love to see them do some more Weird Al Hawaiian shirts. I'd love to see a steelbook version. And it would be really cool if we could finally get a Weird Al Yankovic branded mini accordion. How neat would that be?
Oh, I doubt that'll happen. This past weekend, the 6th annual Mike Wieringo Comic Book Industry Awards were held as part of Baltimore Comic-Con.
We won't bore you with all the winners and nominees, so we'll just skip to the good part. Our favorite graphic novel took home an award.
Yeah, the Illustrated Al. The Songs of Weird Al Yankovic won the 2023 Ringo Award for Best Humor Comic.
From all of us here at Dave and Ethan's 2000-inch Weird Al podcast, congratulations to all involved with the Illustrated Al.
In other Z2 Comics news, for those who order the Super Deluxe edition of the Illustrated Al, the Weird Al Yankovic branded mini accordion that was advertised to come with that package still has not shipped.
Additionally, while pre-orders started in May 2022 and the accordions were supposed to arrive in November 2022, in December 2022, purchasers were alerted that they would be sent out in March 2023. Well, that was 6 months ago, and there have been no further updates over the past 9 months.
Well, who knows? Maybe they'll make a steelbook version of this.
If you happen to be in Washington State this month, make sure you visit Hobby Hall at the Washington State Fair in Puyallup.
There you will find a bodacious Weird Al fan art display on exhibit curated by our close personal friend Kenneth Gwinnett with the help of our close personal friend Javier Valdez.
And if for some wild and wacky reason you can't make it to Washington State, you can check out some pictures and videos of this fun and unique artwork over on our Facebook group, group.2000inch.com.
And look closely, you might even catch some Dave and Ethan's 2000-inch Weird Al podcast references.
There have been a number of sad updates since our last episode, so let's just get right into what's happening in sad and unfortunate news.
It has come to our attention that Weird Al tour driver Jim Conway has passed away.
Our understanding is that Jim drove on the Alpocalypse tours in 2012 and 2013, as well as the Mandatory World Tour in 2016.
We know a lot of Weird Al's touring family were very close with Jim, so our hearts go out to all of you.
From all of us here at Dave and Ethan's 2000-inch Weird Al podcast, Gil and chill in peace, Jim Conway.
Steve Harwell, the former frontman of the band Smash Mouth, has also passed away.
Smash Mouth's song Walkin' on the Sun is featured in the Running with Scissors polka medley, Polka Power.
The song All Star by Smash Mouth was covered by Weird Al and his band on the Ridiculously Self-Indulgent Ill-Advised Vanity Tour of 2018, as well as the unfortunate return of the Ridiculously Self-Indulgent Ill-Advised Vanity Tour in 2022 and 2023.
From all of us here at Dave and Ethan's 2000-inch Weird Al podcast, Gil and chill in peace, Steve Harwell.
Bob Barker, former longtime host of The Price is Right, passed away at age 99.
The Price is Right, Ite is mentioned in the lyrics of Weird Al's song I Lost on Jeopardy, as released on Weird Al Yankovic in 3D.
From all of us here at Dave and Ethan's 2000-inch Weird Al podcast, Gil and chill in peace, Bob Barker. And please remember to help control the pet population. Have your pets spayed or neutered.
Musician Jimmy Buffett also passed away, and on his Blue Sky account, Weird Al had this to say: "The number of people in pop music who wear Hawaiian shirts and write songs about food just got noticeably smaller."
You know, when I heard the news of Jimmy Buffett's passing, it reminded me of this time that I saw Weird Al in New York City. Now, there was what I considered to be an unusually high number of people wearing Hawaiian shirts as we headed to the concert, and later we found out that there also was a Jimmy Buffett concert happening nearby at the same time.
From all of us here at Dave and Ethan's 2000-inch Weird Al podcast, Gil and chill in peace, Jimmy Buffett.
And speaking of cheeseburgers in paradise, this episode is brought to you in part by vegan burrito restaurant Burrito Burrito, home of the 2-pound double wrapped in a quesadilla Burrito Burrito and Wizard Burger in Albany, New York. Come on down to Burrito Burrito and Burrito Burrito, your Burrito Burrito and Wizard Burger for mouth-watering, loaded, dare I say, beefy vegan burgers. From Albany to Uranus, Burrito Burrito and Wizard Burger feed the hungry with out-of-this-world, plant-based, real food, always vegan style. Visit burritosquare.com and wizardburger.com to order ahead.
And now it's time for What's Happening in John Bermuda Schwartz What a Guy related news.
Drummer extraordinaire John Bermuda Schwartz appeared as a special guest on the Dictionary podcast.
Now, if that name sounds familiar to you, it's because both Dave and I were previously guests on the Dictionary podcast as well.
Bermuda sits down with our friend Spencer Parks and covers the words from ear to earache.
To put this episode in your ears, head over to spejampar.podbean.com.
And that's not all, because Bermuda sat in for the song Buddy Holly on the August 20th Richard Cheese and the Lounge Against the Machines live-streamed concert.
But no, he didn't play on the song Buddy Holly. He just quite literally sat in.
Oh, like those concerts we saw last fall where Bermuda sat in on You Don't Love Me Anymore?
Exactly.
All right, let's check out what's happening in Dave and Ethan's 2008 Weird Al podcast related news.
For those who enjoy following along with our adventures on the unfortunate return of the ridiculously self-indulgent, ill-advised Vanity Tour, we have some excellent news for you.
In case you missed it, Ridiculously Self-Indulgent Bonus Episode 46 centimeter and Ridiculously Self-Indulgent Bonus Episode 47 centimeter were recently released to all listeners via our normal podcast channels.
Those reviews cover 2 Ethan-only shows from earlier this year in Springfield, Illinois and Saginaw, Michigan.
And for our Patreon family, you can also listen to Ridiculously Self-Indulgent Bonus Episode 48 centimeter right now, which covers Detroit, Michigan.
But wait, there's more! Patreon supporters can also check out ridiculously self-indulgent bonus episode 49 centimeter right now. It's the episode where Dave and I review a concert that neither of us were at.
How does that even work?
Well, you'll have to tune in over at patreon.com/2000inch to find out.
And remember, our Patreon family gets to hear each and every bonus episode early, so sign up now and get in on all the fun.
And in Dave and Ethan, but not Dave and Ethan's 2000-inch Weird Al podcast related news, Dave, you and I recently recorded with Ryan Rogers of the Jurassic Park cast, talking about all things Weird Al and Jurassic Park and dinosaurs and, for some reason, the song Frank's 2000-inch TV.
Yeah, Ryan let us know that our episode should be dropping tomorrow, September 14th, so be sure to watch group.2000inch.com for a link to listen.
Or just subscribe to his podcast, Parkcast, by heading over to JurassicParkcast.blogspot.com.
That's JurassicParkcast.
On behalf of Dave and Ethan's 2000-inch Weird Al podcast, we'd like to share the following message in advance of our interview with Weird Al Yankovic Story production designer Dan Butts amid the current Hollywood strikes.
We have not been contacted by Roku or by anyone requesting promotion of the film Weird Al Yankovic Story of any kind. We want to state that while we are discussing the film Weird Al Yankovic Story, we are in no way promoting the film nor showing support for film studios that do not support the writers and actors currently on strike.
The intention of this podcast is to create an entertaining archive of information about Weird Al and his career, life, and supporters for both entertainment and informational purposes. Dave and Ethan's 2000-inch Weird Al podcast supports the WGA and SAG and all creatives in the film industry and beyond.
Can't wait to hear more from Dan Butts about his work on Weird Al Yankovic Story. Well, let's pick up his interview right where we left off last episode.
So while we're still with young Al, I know you're doing more, the design work of the sets and stuff, but when it comes to something like the accordions that they're using and smashing, is that something that you worked on?
Yeah, that was actually the first thing I did on this show.
Really?
Well, because it was so funny because I didn't even think about this until you just brought that up. But that was the first conversation I had with Al. Was he was like, the accordions are really important. And I was like, obviously. he's like, no, they're like really important. I want it to be like this. And so I was like, okay. So I went back and I looked at his accordions, and he had a few as a kid. And I found this older man in the deep valley of LA, who he taught accordion and he had accordions for sale. And I went to visit him, and he was like, oh, Al's been here many times. I was like, of course he has. And so this guy was like, it was amazing because he had rooms just full of them. And so I brought the pictures. I spent like hours there, and I was like, what do you think? Like, this is what this is. Like, it has a mother of pearl fret, but it has these different keys. And he's like, oh yeah, that's this. And Al also had there was also like weird tech stuff that Al told me where like, he uses accordions like no other accordion player does. And also on tour, he has to carry them around and do all these crazy things with them. So he uses like a slightly smaller version of a regular accordion. So he told me that he's like, it should be this. And then the hard part was you had to find doubles because obviously we destroy one.
Right.
So you had to have two, and that's very difficult in our world, in the art department world, dealing with something vintage because you're so excited when you find one, and then you're like, I gotta find two, if not more. And so we found a perfect one from this guy, and then we just searched through eBay and Facebook Marketplace and all the other places you look, and we found another one that was very close. And then our prop guy JM, he made like the little changes to make it like kind of a perfect match. And then this other guy from the valley, the old accordion guy, he randomly had pieces. I was like, I need a bunch of keys and pieces I could like throw. And he was like, I don't know what you crazy kids are doing, but yeah, sure. And so he sold us a bunch of that stuff.
Oh, wow.
The hard part was Al was like, it can't make any noise. I'm like, okay, what does that involve? And so it's so funny. Like our job is so great because you're like, okay, then we got to find out like what makes an accordion make noise. So you have to go in and take that part out because you're gonna put music over it. I think it was for the party scene.
Okay.
Okay,
Because
yeah.
the actor was gonna like act like he was playing like crazy, but it wouldn't actually be that music or whatever. On the other hand, as sure as you heard, like Daniel actually learned how to play the accordion, which was banana
it's
cakes.
amazing.
I remember when I first started, Al showed, he's like, look at this. And it was a recording that Daniel had done in London of him practicing. He would send Al these like, what about how's this? I'm like, my mind was just like blown. I was like, that's Daniel Radcliffe learning the accordion to work on this movie that we're doing. And I was like, this is nuts. Someone pitch me because it does not get better than this.
Wow.
Yeah, he was all in, which was great, and which I think you can see in the performance.
What is the piece of the accordion that makes the sound?
Crap, I knew you were going to ask me that.
We gotta
Edit this out. I don't know, some musical thing in the accordion that makes it make noise.
Well, we can leave that research for our listeners to do.
Yeah, you can ask Al because he absolutely knows. He has like an encyclopedic knowledge, and I had to go back to my notes because he was like, "Make sure it's the blah blah blah, not the blah blah blah." I'm like, yeah, you got it, pal. I remember I talked to these like special effects guys. I was like, how are you gonna do this? It's like, okay, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do that, and it was like super convoluted. And I think it came down to asking the old accordion guy. And he's like, just take out the blah blah blah. And I was like, oh, okay, we could do that. Leave it to us movie people to be like, let's make this super complicated.
I'm just picturing everyone with like surgeon outfits, like operating on accordions.
Absolutely.
Testing each piece of the accordion.
I think the first person I talked to was like, you're going to need 8 of these. I'm like, we're not getting 8 of these. We have 2.
How many different accordions did you end up with? I know, obviously one gets smashed.
Yeah, we had a lot for... It's funny because I think we used this take for a trailer, but not the movie. Where at the pool party, he's like, give me an accordion, and like a bunch of accordions
right.
and to enter the frame. So we had a lot. We had a lot of different accordions. I'm not sure where they ended up either. I'm guessing Al has them. But yeah, we had quite a few.
And what you guys did to the accordions to make them not make noise, is that a reversible process? Or
Well, no, we had to have one that worked and one that didn't work.
Oh, okay. Wow, okay.
So no, I don't think it was. I think once it was like deactivated, it was deactivated, I think. I could be totally wrong. I'm gonna get a bunch of angry emails from accordion people. You're an idiot. I'm just the art guy. Yeah, it's such a fun part of my job. Is like, oh, I get to become like a little mini expert on this for this moment. It's like you have to become like a detective too. It's like, okay, well, I got to learn like what bathroom fixtures would be in the Cal Poly bathroom of the dorm, things like that. It's like just stuff you wouldn't think of that you're like, but it's super fun and fascinating to get into.
Well, so now moving on to teenage Al, we see him in a school bus and he's reading Accordion World. Did you source the bus? Did you get the magazine? How did that work?
We did. We found the bus that was period appropriate for that time. The aforementioned Lori West made the beautiful magazine cover. And then we also, I think my art director, Jack Carnivale, made the the book cover for the book that's covering up the magazine. That was a funny scene. I really liked it.
Yeah.
I remember reading the script the first time. I'm like, oh, that is so funny. and Lori and I love like talking about like, okay, how do we make this magazine look like? How do we make the accordion magazine? And we looked at like biker magazines from that time. Like, I can't remember what they were called. Like, I want to say Easy Rider, but that's probably not right. But we looked at like biker magazines with like girls in their motorcycles from that time period, and we're like, we should make it like this. And we ended up doing like, I think 3 or 4 different covers. I think in the apartment scene, you see one of the roommates actually reading it.
Yeah. Yep. Steve's reading
one.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so great. Yeah, it always makes me laugh, and especially like pausing and reading the captions on the magazine.
Yeah. Yeah. See, like that stuff, I'm like, I wish we could have gotten more into that. Like,
Right.
I love that stuff so much.
So then we find ourselves at the polka party. Although right before the polka party, I think, is when we meet Hey Boy for the first time. Did you work on the Hey Boy?
Hey Boy, yes.
Yes. It's awesome. Our PA, this guy Sam Caswell, he was like, "Can I work on Hey Boy?" I was like, "That's a weird question. I'm not gonna get asked again in my life, but sure." And so he made that, and it was funny because we did many versions of this, and I'm still a little upset because we did a version that had the mustache and the glasses that we made out of corn husks. I kind of liked more because there's 2 versions of Hey Boy. He shows up later,
Right.
and so I wanted to make a different one for the other one, but like Eric was like, "No, I think it should be the same thing," and he's probably right because he's Eric Appel and I'm just the art guy. But it was super fun to make the other version as well. But yeah, our guy Sam like got really into it, and then he was like, he was just doing it kind of in a vacuum on his own, as his own project, and then. I talked to wardrobe and I said, well, we should get some, some clothes that, you would have. So we had like, I think the pajamas from the first one. And then later we had to have like, for the jungle scene, we needed like Daniel clothes.
Right.
And, it was hilarious because they were like, oh, there's some other stuff that we had Daniel use, but he doesn't need anymore. So you could use that. And so we gave our guy Sam those. And, I come in to check on the thing and he goes, look at this. And I'm like, what? And he's like, he's wearing the pants. And he's like, Radcliffe and I are the same size. This is amazing. And I was like, get out of Daniel's pants, dude. He was just so excited that he was like, I wear the same size as Daniel Radcliffe. This is the best day ever. And I was like, can you put the pants on the Hey Boy, Sam? Put the pants on the Hey Boy.
Oh, I love it.
So yeah, Hey Boy was so. And honestly, I think when I read the script first, I think I was crying out loud. I was like,
oh, that, yes.
It was so funny and so good. I was like, this is so great.
It's incredible.
But I mean, from art department standpoint, it's actually should be Straw Boy because hay is green and straw is yellow. But okay, that's for a different. That's for my AFI class. I'll teach later.
That's good. That might be a conspiracy theory we're gonna have to add to when we do our "Is Baba" music video or not.
Yeah,
episode.
exactly.
Is Hey Boy Straw Boy or Hay?
Yeah, Hey Boy does sound better. I get it.
But would Straw Boy be made out of hay?
Oh, snap.
Oh,
I guess we'll have to wait for the sequel.
Yeah, exactly.
I say.
Okay, so then let's talk about the polka party scene.
Amazing scene.
It's so good.
So good.
You know, obviously the house is perfect. Is that another house from that same row that you
Yeah.
found?
Yeah, I think it was it was something like the dean's house or something from that property. We changed it quite a bit. We added a lot. I think we painted and added like some wallpaper and things, I think. But the bones of the house were great. And then Laura brought in some great furniture for the set deck. And I think we had some very specific albums. I don't think you saw them. I think they mentioned one in dialogue, which we had, and that became like a huge clearance issue too, because they wanted very specific like polka records and stuff. And,
the girl
like,
picks one or two up. I think you do see the covers.
yeah. Well, we had other ones behind there.
Yeah, the girl is picking up one called Whoopi John Wolfarts. And the one that's on the shelf that you could see is Myron Florin's, and then it goes on a little bit. Yeah.
Those are all very specific asks from Al.
Oh wow!
Wow.
Because he knows that world.
Yeah.
And that was fun, like finding those and like getting them. I thought that was just so funny too. Like to have a bunch of like teenagers be like, "Oh my god, I'm so into this right now."
Yeah.
Oh, it's so good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was our last night of shooting actually. And what was funny about that is that same night. This is a random story, but do you remember the melting head in the?
Of course.
Okay.
In the LSD trip.
Yes, in the LSD trip, there's this Daniel's head melt. So this was an early version of the script, and it was always the dream for Eric to be like, this should be like Raiders of the Lost Ark, when the Nazi's head like just melts. And we're like, okay, that's cool. That's super cool. And then we started researching it. Like, unbelievably, there's like behind the scenes of like how they did that and stuff. So, but it's very convoluted and very tricky. So the producers immediately said, we can't do that. There's no way we can do that. We can't afford that. Scrap it. And then talking to Al and Eric afterward, they're like, that'd be so cool. And so I was the whole time I'm like, we're gonna do it. And so I would tell them, I'm like, we're just gonna do it. And we're just not gonna tell the producers. And so I had one of my other little secret weapons was I had this artist that I'd worked with a bunch named Carrie Palmetto. Who is a miniature artist and a sculptor. And so I was like, can you do this thing for me? So she did the sculpture that gets broken in the mansion.
Okay.
And I think she finished it about 4 minutes before we shot it. Like we literally ran it upstairs because she had been working all night on it.
Oh man!
I think we couldn't pay her like what she deserved for it. It was like a fast, crazy thing she did for us as kind of a favor. So she did that, and I said, "Well, now that you did that, there's this other thing." And she's like, "Are you effing kidding me?" She's like, "You want to do the Raiders of the Lost Ark?" Because I guess in the sculpture world, they all know it. They're
right.
That's layers of like this, and then it looks like blood, and then it looks like sinew, and then it looks like... And I'm like, I know. Can you do that? And so she made this thing. And so on the last night, as we're shooting the party scene, in the garage, we set up a camera. Oh, also Ross, the DP, he knew about this. So we set this whole separate thing up in the garage of this house, and we're like, the producer's like, "What is this?" Like, "Oh, it's just kind of a test thing. We just gonna shoot this. Don't worry, it's another camera. It's not taking any time away from anything." And then the fire officer comes up to me and goes, "Wait, what are we doing?" And I'm like, just gonna, it's your normal like head melt thing." And he's like, "Wait, what? The what?" And I was like, "It's okay." And so we got, I just brought these like heat guns that you use to like peel paint.
Yeah.
And so we had two of those. And so we just sat there with a time lapse and we just heated the thing. And Carrie had done these great layers of wax on the thing and it just started melting. And we did 2 takes and it ended up working like really well. And it was funny.
Was there more than one head to do 2 takes?
We did 2 heads.
Okay.
Wow.
And I think the first one, like the glasses fell wrong. Like you never know what's going to happen on that kind of thing. With the wig and the glasses. And so like the glasses kind of were too janky on the first take, and luckily the second take worked out fine. But it was so awesome to be like that was some scrappy like Mr. Show stuff that we did there. It was like it's not the stuff that would happen like on a major motion picture, because it would have been like a $80,000 deal to like, well, we're gonna have to set it up, but like we're like, let's just do this. So we just kind of did it, and the producers were kind of like, what's happening? And we're kind of like, you didn't spend any extra money on it, so like just it's fine. So it was just, I'm just glad it like got in the movie, and it made Eric and Al happy. So it was great.
A tweet that Al put out recently went viral where he talked about his daughter Nina went and visited you at your studio, and you gifted her Al's melted face.
I did. I kept a bunch of stuff from that. And it's like I found it like randomly like in a bag, and I was like, "What is this?" I was like, "Oh my god, it's Al's face!" And I was like, "Let's get." And so we bought a clear like canister thing. I was like, "That'd be funny to put it in that." And then Nina wanted to like kind of like learn about art department and what we did and how it worked, because she's like super artistic. And so I was like, "Come on by." And so we put it together for her, and I was like, "Oh, everyone that comes to the shop here gets a bucket of Al." And so then it was so funny that like Al, because that was like hours after she was there, and I was like, "This is so weird," because like I'm getting texts from like people I haven't talked to in years, and I'm like, "What's happening?" And they're like, "You gave a bucket of Al to somebody?" Yeah.
Well, it went viral, and then all these different news outlets ran with it, and it became this huge story. And
it was so weird. I'm like, how did you write a story based on this like tweet?
Right.
And then it was so hilarious because my friends were like, "Oh, you should read the comments." And I was like, the comments were all about like how my last name was Butts and how hilarious that was. I was like, "Oh, okay. Oh yeah, I forgot." Sometimes I forget. I'm like, "Oh, that's the Al fan base.
Yeah.
Those are my guys."
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, that was such a wild day.
Wow.
It was so great to see Nina, because obviously I've seen Nina grow up, like not that I'm like super close and saw her at a time, but like I would see her as a little girl, and then I'd see her bigger, and then I'd bring her the bed from this way. But it's so awesome and not surprising that like she's such an amazing woman that like it makes sense. She has the coolest parents in the world.
Oh yeah. That's absolutely true. I guess going back in timeline order to regain our timeline, we're back right where we meet Dan for the first time. Oh, unless we want to talk about the accordion smash, or did we cover that?
I can't remember like how we did the accordion smash. I think we had one that we were like prepared to like, we're gonna destroy this. Let's get it on the first take. And then we had the extra pieces that I got from the guy that we'd throw out like down as like for close-ups. But yeah, we were fully prepared to destroy that one. But we still had the hero one.
Yeah.
What happens to the smashed accordion?
I don't know. That's a really good question. I'm not sure. I think it goes like, at the end of a movie, the company producers, production company, Roku, Funny or Die, like they're like, what are the assets from the film? And then you like have to make a big inventory, and then like they put them in a box and it ends up in a warehouse like Raiders of the Lost Ark. I think. Because I've literally never seen them ever again. But yeah, it's sad. Like a lot of that stuff kind of goes that way. I pulled a few things that I grabbed for Al and Eric. I actually made a little shadow box for Al that I still haven't given it to him. It was funny because when Nina was here, I was like, I should give this to you. And I was like, but I kind of want to add more stuff to it. And it's funny. The only reason I knew Al was in Hawaii was I talked to him after the Portugal the Man show. I texted with him and I was like, hey, well, you're in town. Do you mind to come by tomorrow and bring the shadow box? And he's like, I'm going to Hawaii tomorrow. I was like, oh, okay. I guess I'll keep adding to it. But yeah, I made him this little shadow box where it's like the background is like a Hawaiian print. And I have, I think 2 or 3 of the accordion magazines. And I have pieces from the broken statue of his face. And then I have the hero Bologna package, which is pretty amazing.
Oh, yeah, it's cool.
That's so great.
And then Eric, I gave, I think, there's an intact bust of Al that I gave to him. That's in his office.
Very cool.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
it's incredible.
Yeah, such a fun project. I mean, literally, you couldn't ask for a better thing. Like, I wish I'm gonna say this out to the universe. Like, I hope we do. Weird 2, Weird 3, Weird 4.
Oh, us too. We hope you do a Weird 27.
Yes,
exactly. Yeah, I'm in. I'm all in.
And we hope there's tough bikers in all of them, at least 2.
That's right. That's so awesome that you were able to be in it. That's so great. And now I'm jealous. I'm like, I'm not even in it. God damn it.
You're gonna have to interview us.
I know. It's funny because I asked and was able to be in the Pee Wee Herman movie that I did. But I was so dumb because I picked this part. They were like, there's a city planner. He's like a architect. There's no lines. I'm like, well, that's great. I don't want any lines. But what I didn't realize when I read the script was like, oh, this is a night scene. So I'm there at like 2:30 in the morning.
Oh.
And my wife's like, where are you? And I'm like, I'm supposed to be on camera in a half an hour. I'm like, so I basically had to stay up all night for like a weird walk-on scene that you can't even notice I'm in. I was like, I'm not going to make that mistake again.
So I guess moving along, before we took a detour to the accordion smash, we have the introduction of Dan, Mr. Daniel Radcliffe as Al, and we see him go up to a bulletin board, and there's a whole bunch of flyers on there. Did you work on those flyers?
We did, yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
A lot more Easter eggs on this one. Obviously, the big one that stands out is Cooney's Karate School.
Yep. I mean, it makes sense, right?
Yeah.
It was right down the street.
Yeah, it's perfect.
Yeah,
Absolutely
you never know
perfect.
who's going to fly out that window. Yeah.
Now, there was guitar lessons by Jimmy. Is that a reference to Jim West?
Yes.
All right. Got that Easter egg.
Nice.
Yeah.
There's one for an open mic. Is that the open mic that he goes to?
I think it was, yeah. Yeah, I think it even said the club. The club wasn't even mentioned in the show, but yeah, that was for that little precursor to what's about to happen.
Cool.
Now, there was also a flyer about joining a band. I believe that's the one he actually rips, and then we see him go to the audition. But
Yep.
I noticed the phone number is a San Luis Obispo area code.
Yeah,
That was intentional.
but yeah, by design, yeah.
Where does the number come from?
The 555.
No, it's
Yeah, it's 805-032-1287.
Oh, maybe they allowed us to have something else. Normally, with any movie or TV, it's supposed to be 555, but I think they recently allowed a new thing for the first three numbers, maybe. I don't remember that. I remember we wanted to be San Luis Obispo.
It looks like it's a made-up number. I haven't tried calling or anything.
I did.
But
I tried.
Oh, you did?
Of course you did.
I tried all the numbers we're going to talk about, and none of them worked.
Wow.
Okay. Yeah, because there's another flyer that has a number that's 501-123-4567.
That's just lazy. And I'm gonna fire probably 2 people for that.
So we don't really get to see that full flyer, but it says green eyes, gray and black stripes with a white belly. So I assume it's like a lost cat.
Yeah, it's a missing cat one. Yeah, I remember that one. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the area code for that one is Little Rock, Arkansas. Do we know what that was about, or is that random?
No, that is random.
That's a far way for a cat to travel from Little Rock, Arkansas to San Luis Obispo.
Cats can move. A lot of people don't know that. Yeah, little lions. That's wild. Okay, people aren't supposed to look that closely.
Well,
Yeah, well, you forget who you're talking to.
I
You're
know.
talking to Dave and Ethan of Dave and Ethan's 2000s Weird Al podcast. We're going to go this
I know.
in depth through the entire movie.
You go deep. I appreciate it.
I'll have you know, Dan, I bought a brand new TV that supported 4K so I could play the Ultra HD version of of the film, so I could go frame by frame.
Wow.
So that's commitment.
That's awesome. I love it.
The only other flyer is a flyer for a painter. Are there any Easter eggs that we missed in this scene, as far as you know?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Trying to think. No, I don't think so. You got them and then created some I didn't even know we did. I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Well, Ethan, I think you missed the garage sale today sign as well.
I think I did.
It's just a sign that says garage sale today with an arrow pointing to the left. And that's all the information I have on it.
I forgot to write that one down.
Yeah, I don't know that either.
So right after this one, we actually see Al's apartment for the first time, and this is just, I feel, completely laden with all sorts of Easter eggs.
Oh,
Yeah. God, I should pull up a picture of that myself. Yeah, there's a lot there. There was like, I mean, the big part I kind of wanted to put in there for Al and for the people that like really knew like the super back history of Al was we had like a drafting table set up in there with like
right.
architectural drawings because obviously like that's what he went to school for. But wasn't something that he was really super into, so but wanted to kind of have that like backstory piece for the people that knew like
Right.
oh that makes sense, he was there for
Oh, yeah.
for school. But yeah, there's some secret other stuff in there.
Yeah, we see I think they have Jim kind of sketching as if maybe he's the architecture student in this universe. And then, of course, there is a Cal Poly pennant hanging up on the wall.
Yeah. Wow, good catch. Yeah, I don't think we could find that, so we actually handmade that.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Yeah. That's funny. So that's another thing. It was like, that was really for Al, but I'm glad that like other people appreciated that. That's cool.
So also on the wall is it looks like some MC Escher,
Yep. Yeah.
which of course not only is it Al's favorite MC, I know he famously is a fan of MC Escher.
Yep.
We see Bermuda reading a magazine called Youth and Beauty Magazine.
I don't remember that.
It's kind of a funny choice for him.
Yeah.
There is a
It's classic Bermuda.
right.
Come on.
Now, I don't know if this was just the era, but there is a lava lamp, which of course
Yeah.
shows up in Weird Al lyrics. There's a duck on the table. Is that a reference to "I Want a New Duck"?
I don't think it was.
Oh,
I mean, yes, absolutely it was. Of course, is what I meant to say.
and then eagle-eyed viewers, I'm sure, notice something when Al goes over to the fridge.
Yes.
And I know we talked about Spatula City Magnet, we talked about the Big Edna's menu, and there's also a Dino's Pizzeria menu. Is that a reference to anything?
I don't think so. I think it was just a cleared menu that we had to add texture.
Well, let's make it an Easter egg like we did with the duck.
Yes.
Dino, of course, the name of the dog in Flintstones, which of course Bedrock Anthem, and Dino could be pronounced Dino, and of course Al does Jurassic Park, so obviously that is the reference.
Yes. That's what I definitively meant to say right there.
What can you tell us about the artwork that's also on the fridge? It looks like some sort of ape eating something or getting ready to rip apart something.
I can't remember. I think it was just some cleared art that we
Okay.
rented.
Okay.
We were just trying to find fun things that could have
Yeah.
been something him or he or his roommate would have had.
Gotcha.
Then of course Al goes to make the bologna sandwich, and we see on the counter both Captain Crunch and Raisin Bran from Eat It.
Yep.
And tell us about the My Bologna package. Did you design that, or is that an actual package?
We actually, that was so much harder than it should have been. We found images of the bologna from that time period. And I think for a brief second, they were like, Oscar Mayer wants to be involved. I'm like, what does that mean? Like, they're going to give us the actual packaging. And I was like, okay. And, but in the meantime, we kept building it. My art director, Jack, put that together. And it was randomly kind of a hard build because we, just because the artwork wasn't super great from, what we had from Bologna at that time. So there's a lot of cleanup involved. And then we had to find a package that kind of matched the package from that time, which also was a little different. And then obviously we had to put Bologna in there that wouldn't get super nasty during the day of our shoot. So I think we built that like a 3D version of a bologna stack.
So it's not actual bologna in there.
Yeah. I think there is for like the take. I
okay.
think props like put it in for the take when he actually makes a sandwich, but like when you're looking at it and stuff, and obviously in Al's beautiful shadow box that he may someday get, it's fake. But it's funny, it looks so real. People that have seen it have been like, that's gonna get real gross in there, dude. And I'm like, it's not real, but it looks really real. So yeah, that was a little bit of an undertaking. Of course, not surprisingly, at the last minute, Oscar Mayer was like, "Oh no, we're good. We don't need to be involved." I was like, "Okay, I'm glad we put it together." So, yeah.
And of course, it's labeled Steve.
Yeah.
Do you know who wrote Steve on there?
That's a good question. I'd have to look at that. It might have been me. It was probably either me or my art director, Jack.
Yeah.
I can't remember. Yeah.
Oh, so
But
great.
I'm pretty good at writing Steve. I'm just not really good at writing palindromes. Oh, just kidding. That was my other art director.
And was the decision for it to be Steve's pack of bologna, was that scripted out, or was that something you got to weigh in on?
I don't think that was
As
me.
art
I think
director.
that was Al or Eric.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, which is so funny. I think that was a good a good idea.
Now, there's other, decor around the apartment. Any of it that stands out to you as an Easter egg, or was it just more set decoration?
I think most of it was set deck. It was all based on like what I felt like Al would have there, like the things on the shelves. I was like, I think we had like a clapping monkey thing, and like we had like
Yes, the clapping monkey.
yeah, like it was just weird things that I felt like. Oh, you know what we also did? We also took some of the things from his childhood room and put them in there. I don't know that you actually read them, but I thought that would be kind of cool. Like, oh, he's kept some of these things like his whole life.
Right. Like the Mad
as we all
Magazine
do. We
thing.
all have.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's cool.
I see, though, he's given up on the poster of Dr. Demento, however.
Yeah. Well, that we actually shot his apartment was it might have been the first day.
Oh, really? Okay. So a lot
Yeah.
of the lawyers were still freaking out about it.
Yeah. Which is kind of a bummer because I would have loved to have a lot of time with to work on that set because it was so much fun.
Yeah.
And that was probably our biggest build, actually, of all the sets we did. Like because we had to kind of fabricate the whole kitchen, and there was a lot of like construction that went on to that set, more so than most.
Was it an actual building you were filming in?
It was a building, and like we liked it because of these windows that had this great natural light, and it sounds so silly, but like, the direction it was facing and stuff was great for our lighting and all that. And so we kind of built within that. It was like kind of an empty space, and so we kind of refinished it, and we added the kitchen and the cabinets. Like it's really hard to find cabinets of that period, but I found some guy on Craigslist that had just torn out like this house that was about to be destroyed. He pulled out all the cabinets and was selling them on Craigslist for like a cheap, like $800 or something for like all these counters and cabinets. And I was like, that's great. He's like, well, the deal is you have to take all of them. And I was like, we don't really need that many of them. He's like, no, you have to take all of them. I'm like, okay. And so we went, and it was like in the crazy basement of this guy's house.
Oh, no.
And so my whole art team, like all our PAs, my art director, we all went, and it was like 4 trips in a van. We like borrowed somebody's van, and we hauled all these cabinets out of this guy's basement, and then we kind of Frankensteined them into this kitchen that we made for them. It worked out, but man, it was a lot of work. In a real show, you would just draw it up, and like construction guys would build it, and
Right.
it would be beautiful. But in our movie, it was like, no, you go to Craigslist and you find some crazy guy that has a bunch of weird cabinet pieces in a basement. So just part of the magic.
What did you do with the other stuff? Just toss it somewhere?
Yep. Yeah.
It's so funny.
Yeah.
When you go to someone on Craigslist, do they know it's for Weird the Al Yankovic Story, or do they not ask those kind of questions?
No, you only kind of use that if you have to or it helps you. And it does.
Okay.
I mean, Al is like the kind of thing that like it does help you. You know what I mean? Like, even with our graphic artist Lori, it's like she's the most busy woman in the world, and it's like I'm doing a Weird Al movie. She's like, what the do you need? You know what I mean? It's like I'm like okay, you're my people. And that happened time and time again. Like, we'd it was, obviously not a big budget, so it's like we'd constantly be asking for favors and stuff, and people were like, "Oh, Weird Al, yeah, no, not a problem, done." But then sometimes they would be like, "Isn't Daniel Radcliffe in it?" And you're like, "Yeah." And they're like, "So it's a big budget movie?" You're like, "No, it's not. It's not. We have $24." They're like, "Really, Daniel Radcliffe? Really?" Like, yeah, he's working at scale. Like, so.
Oh man.
But everybody out there is like willing to help Al with whatever. They all want to be a part of it. So we got a lot of extra amazing talent. Even in my crew, like we had set dressers, which are the people that like, dress the set. The decorator like picks out the stuff, and the set dressers, they like dress it in and things. And our budget was so small that like we had, the rates weren't great. But we were able to get like amazing crew because people were like, "It's the Weird Al movie?" We're like, "Yeah." They're like, "Okay." I was like, "Well, the rate's only this." They're like, "That's cool. Can I meet Al?" And I'm like, "Yep, absolutely." So poor Al, like the first day, I'm like, "Hey Al, this is Jerry. He's in the art department. This is Joanne. She's in the art department." It's like, okay, why am I meeting everybody? And I'm like, because I got them at 20% less than their rate.
Every handshake is a few $100.
Yeah, exactly. That just saved us a bunch of money. That bought us that cool lamp in the bar.
So after Al, writes and records the song, he's filling out an envelope to mail it to the Captain Buffoon show. And to my eyes, it looks like Al's handwriting for the Al Yankovic and the Captain Buffoon show.
I don't think it was. Like, did Al write that actual envelope? I don't know. The prop department did that. And I thought they just did that on their own.
Wow.
But maybe
they nailed. If they did, they nailed Al's handwriting.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. They're real.
It looks.
Yeah, they did a great job.
It looks exactly like something that Al would have written.
Yeah,
I agree with Ethan on that one. I thought that was Weird Al's handwriting as well.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, it was funny because that was our first day of shooting the apartment, and I think I knew, but for the rest of the crew, they didn't realize that like Al would actually be there.
Oh,
like
okay,
overseeing, and so like everyone was like super freaked out, in a good way, just kind of geeking out, like, holy shit, Al is sitting on the couch in the apartment, the real Al. And so, I don't know, it wouldn't surprise me if like they like went over and consulted him and had him be involved in that. That's altogether possible. But I remember it was just funny because I saw him sitting in the set, and he just, he's being Al and thinking about things and like the script and like things like that. And just watching I would just sit and watch the rest of the crew just kind of like trip out by like, that's really Al. Like, I'm like, what did you think was gonna happen here? He wrote it. It's kind of about him.
Oh, I love it. Well, the next big scene is Al in the Scotty Brothers office, and
yeah,
it looks perfect. I mean, I remember when Dave and I first saw the trailer for the film, and we spotted that like the gold records had the actual Scotty Brothers logos on them. Like, we freaked out at the attention to detail that went in.
So glad I'm so glad that you caught that.
Well, of course we did.
I really am. That's like, it was so much work to do that. And it's funny because that was also one of our early scenes, and my whole thing going into this is like, I want Al to be happy, I want Al to be proud,
right?
And so that was like one of the big deals. I was like, I want the records to be on the wall that would be on the wall. And so we went deep, like, we realized that like the band Survivor, they had a gold record in, whatever year it was.
Oh,
Or
wow.
somewhere in America, like Leif Garrett had a gold 45. And so we did all that. And the other thing was we actually, and this is, I've said this before, but like, this is the fun part of my job, is like doing deep research. So I learned about the Scotti brothers, who they were and like how they were. And it's a crazy crew. But like one of the things I learned early on that I thought was so funny was like, the guy was like, I'm really into tigers. And so like one of their early logos was a tiger. And so I'm like, Laura, our set decorator, found this amazing like ceramic tiger. And I was like, that would be so goddamn funny in the office. And it was the first thing Al picked up on. He walked in, he's like, that's amazing. And it was like, thank you. It was like, but I'm so glad that you like caught that whole thing, because we actually had to recreate the Scotti Brothers logo for the 45s, which was like randomly like not easy to do. Like there was a lot of cleanup. There wasn't great like versions of it online. So it was like a lot of work, and I know a lot of times my art crew was like, why are we doing this again? Like, is anyone gonna see this? And it was like, damn it, everybody, one day I'm gonna be on a podcast and they're gonna fucking ask me about this. So get to work. No, just kidding.
You crack your whip.
Exactly. Put the shackles back on and get back to the computer. But it's cool. But it was great because Al walked in and like when he saw the records and stuff, it was like, oh, he dug it.
Yeah. Oh, so cool.
So there's another piece of paper that comes into play in this scene, and it's where Daniel as Al well, this is weird because there's two Al's in this scene. There's Al Yankovic as one of the Scotti brothers, and then there's Daniel Radcliffe as Weird Al. So when I say Weird Al, it might be confusing here, but I'll use the actor's name. So when Al Yankovic hands Daniel Radcliffe the contract, it turns out to be a menu for a Chinese food place called Dragon Gate. Any background on why Dragon Gate worked into this prop?
I can't remember how he came up with Dragon Gate.
Was it just possibly one that you may have had cleared already for some other reason?
Maybe. I'm sure our prop master JM probably like pitched a few ideas, and that's what they ended up with, and then that's what cleared legally. As you're getting a lot from this podcast, lawyers have a lot to do with movies.
It sounds like it.
Turns out, which is super annoying.
It does.
So yeah, I'm sure it was like one of the cleared names we were allowed to use.
Okay. Yeah. All right, and Ethan, there's a phone number on here. Did you call it 310-189-3456?
I sure did, and it does not work, but it is a Los Angeles area code, so very appropriate.
Oh, that's too bad. Their dumplings are really good.
It's funny because I was able to pause and read the menu, and it basically everything on the left side except for the names is identical. So like the food descriptions are just copied and pasted, and honestly you wouldn't notice unless you really went hardcore like I did. But yeah,
so many people are being fired based on this conversation today.
Yeah, but it's great, and I love their office, and I mean Will Forte and Al.
That's actually
it's so good.
I love Will Forte so much. We had him on Flight of the Conchords as well.
Yeah.
So good. But those offices were actually, that location was the same offices they used to shoot the first season of Mad Men.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
How neat.
Yeah. I only knew that because my wife randomly was an actress in Mad Men.
Oh, wow.
I was like, she's like, where'd you shoot? I'm like, we shot there, the floor. And she's like, oh, that's where we shot the first season. I was like, oh, cool.
Wow.
Now we get to the most important scene of the entire film, hands down. It is, of course, the Cobra Pit scene. What can you tell us about getting that ready, the location, anything and everything you can tell us about the Cobra Pit.
Well, we were all just kind of starstruck that day because in our audience for the Cobra Pit, we had Dave and Ethan, and we couldn't even really focus on what we were doing because we heard that day that some of our actors were going to be these famous podcasters.
And let me guess, you sat back and you just watched everyone geek out that Dave and Ethan were on set.
Yep. Yeah, that was I feel like that was early on our schedule too, right? You were there.
Yeah, it was. I think the fourth day, or
yeah, I think it was for day 4.
Yeah, that was a fun set. It was also weird in that, not weird, but like a challenge in that we had to do a backstage that wasn't connected to the real stage. The real stage that we shot on was like super shallow and didn't have an actual backstage, but we had a whole backstage scene. So we had to kind of mirror, we'd like make a curtain for the stage and then use the same curtain for the backstage and then like do these things that kind of connected that. Mm-hmm. I think we had flyers in that too, where there were some Easter eggs, but I don't think we ever shot it. Because we had a bulletin board there as well.
Yeah, there are some flyers hanging up on the wall of the backstage area, but they're a little difficult to read. Maybe Ethan in his 4K HD might have gotten a better glimpse of it than I could, though.
Yeah, I think actually we did analyze those when the trailer came out, and it just, I think, was advertising the open mic, and I think it mentioned skunk barf on them.
Yeah. Yeah, the skunk barf thing was super fun. It was like such a random thing. We'll call them skunk barf. And then one of our PAs, Jenny Whipple, who's like, she'd been working with us just a little while, but she was a huge Al fan, as was her whole family. And she's an amazing illustrator. And so when it first came that like we were gonna like, oh, we might need like a logo for Skunk Barf, I was like, you on that? And she was like, oh my god. So she did like a bunch of versions, and it was funny because I would tweak them. I was like, I get really into graphics too much, and I was like, no, I want it like maybe the barf spells out skunk barf, and so she would do a version of that, and then it was not surprising, it was her original drawing that was the winner.
Right.
The Eric's like, this is amazing. Let's do this.
Yeah.
And as you know, that became our rap shirt as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
We're hoping to get one.
It's a great logo. It can happen. I know some people.
Okay. And I don't know if you really even see the logo too well in the film. I mean, it's kind of a passing glance. But Dave and I got to stare at it all day, and we loved it.
Oh, it was incredible.
I think didn't we do it on a kick drum as well?
Yeah.
No?
It's on the drum. It's on the drum, and that's where you see it most prominently. Yeah.
It's a great logo.
It is.
It's really great.
Yeah.
Oh, I love the logo.
I mean, maybe my throw up one might have been better, but no, I'm just kidding.
Well, we want shirts of the other logo.
No. No, Eric made the right choice again. But yeah, I'll hook you guys up. I know some folks.
Okay.
Well,
Thank you.
oh, perfect.
I feel like I owe you a
Thank
lot
you,
after
yes.
this. I'm taking notes. I'm like, oh, they want one of the newspapers from Performance Way.
Yeah, well, once Al gets his shadow box, then you can deliver our stuff.
Yeah,
We can work on our shadow boxes.
I know. I have one space in his shadow box. I'm trying to figure out what the hell to go in there, but I'll figure it out.
Picture of Dave and I.
Maybe, yeah, that'll do it. That'll give him a smile.
So there's one Easter egg in that scene. This is a little in the bar scene, which is a little hard to see, but Ethan and I, again, we were staring at it all day, so we picked up it immediately, and that is on one of the guitar players for Skunk Barf. On their guitar, there was a 27.
Oh yeah.
Of course, Weird Al's number 27 in there. So we definitely picked that one up.
I don't think you can see it in the film though, unless maybe.
Yeah, it's a little hard
I think
to
you're
pick
right.
up.
There was only a few places we put that, and I think the first time Al saw it was when we did below the stadium for the concert.
Yeah, the backstage one. Yeah.
Yeah, he was super excited about that. Because it wasn't anything we ever talked about. I was just like, I'm just gonna do these things and hope that he digs it. So,
well, Dan, I am happy to tell you that I actually, and I'll include Dave and I'll include our friend Kenneth in this. We contributed an Easter egg in the film that maybe you don't know about.
What?
So I'm, of course, standing there with my leather vest, and if you look on my leather vest, I'm wearing a single button. And that button is exactly the same as the I Love Lucy button that Weird Al wore in the I Love Rocky Road music video. So that is a very hidden, very hard to see Easter egg.
Wow. that is a deep cut.
But yeah, our friend Kenneth, he tracked down one that is identical to the one that Al wore. So that is
amazing.
Little homage. So we did our best, while we were avoiding the crew who were trying to get our autographs.
Of course. Yeah, the throngs. I remember them. I remember security trying to keep people away from you. It was nuts.
Now, watching the scene, right at the intro, we see, the people fighting outside, and we see the exterior, and there's a big Cobra Pit sign. I don't remember. Did we see that when we were there, Dave, or is that something that was added later?
No, we did that in post. The big one up top.
Yeah,
that was post.
Yeah.
Okay.
The big one up top definitely wasn't there, but I believe the little clipboard sign was.
Yeah, we had a sandwich board one that was there.
Yeah.
And I think it just said open mic night. I think.
What kind of blew my mind was, I think it was a few months later that I made the connection in my head that I had actually been to the Virgil years earlier to see comedy shows a few times, but while I was there in person, it was so different that I had no idea.
Nice.
So you guys did a great job. It tricked me.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, it was weird because the bar with this is such a stupid inside baseball art department thing, but the bar was the face of the bar was super fancy, and we didn't want it to be that kind of place, so we actually I cut some wood paneling that we kind of put against it to kind of make it more biker bar-ish. Mm-hmm. It's something I don't think anyone even notices, but I would have if it wasn't there.
Yeah.
So yeah, we kind of did whatever we could to kind of dirty it up because it's the Virgils. It's a nice place.
We actually remember at one point there was a delay in shooting because a beer keg fell and exploded or something. Did you hear about that?
No, I don't remember that.
Well, that's another Easter egg.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was such a cool experience and such a great scene.
That's so awesome that you were able to be there. Yeah, that was a great scene. Great day to be there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Patton, that was the introduction of Dr. Demento.
Yeah, right. Being in the same room with Patton Oswalt, Rainn Wilson, Michael McKean, Daniel Radcliffe. I mean, Weird Al, Eric Appel. It's just incredible.
Yeah. Yeah, it's super cool.
And I understand, Dan, you were too shy to come say hi to us that day.
I was a little nervous. I was too freaked out.
Yeah.
Because I was like, is it bad to have them sign something for me? And if they sign my butt, is that too personal? Is it weird? So I kind of freaked out, and then my crew kind of talked me down, and then took me out of there. which was probably the right move. Yeah. That's cool. I'm glad you're able to be in that scene too. That's like such a great scene.
Oh, it was just such a
It was cool that
Yeah.
like Patton was able to be there too for that, because like to include him somehow in it, it was just cool that he was able to be in it.
yeah. Oh, for sure.
Oh, yeah. All right, I think we're ready to move on to the grotto, which is the pool party.
Well, we need to stop the interview right there, but we've still got more to cover, so stay tuned for more with Dan Butts on a future episode.
But in the meantime, we'd like to once again thank Dan for being such a great guest and sharing so many great insights about his projects with us. We cannot wait for you to hear more of this pretty stinking majestic interview.
This episode is brought to you in part by Discover Darwin, promoting tourism in Darwin, Minnesota. Not only is historic Darwin, Minnesota beautiful, it's also celebratory.
Monday, September 11th, 2023 marked an important date in Darwin, Minnesota history.
Residents of Darwin, Minnesota gathered and celebrated one of their own with a long overdue dedication.
The Darwin Community Legacy Foundation marked this date with the extremely apropos dedication of Francis Johnson Corner.
Wait, they gave the guy known for making something big and round a corner?
Yeah. The dedication took place at the museum and featured speakers Dave Kelly and past guest and friend of the podcast, Mayor Josh Johnson, as well as unnamed special guests.
Ooh, who do you think the special guests were?
I think they were Dave and Ethan.
Oh, I doubt it. I think we'd know. Besides, there was already a Dave on the list with Dave Kelly. Darwin, Minnesota is not likely to have two Daves speak at such an important event.
Well, do you think we should note that the dedication program started at 5:30 p.m. Twine Ball time and was followed by a community picnic at 6 p.m. Twine Ball time?
No, I don't think that's relevant.
Well, should we note that the community picnic was held at Schoolhouse Park, the very same park that hosted my birthday celebration on July 24th, 2022?
Yeah, definitely mention that.
Do you think they fixed the picnic shelter by now?
I don't know. Do you think this event was sanctioned?
So visit Darwin, Minnesota on your next sanctioned expedition. Discover Darwin more than just a twine ball. And after you visit Darwin, Minnesota, be sure to attempt to visit discoverdarwin.biz.
Dave and Ethan's 2000-inch Weird Al podcast is brought to you absolutely free thanks to our incredible sponsors, Burrito, Wizard Burger, Jackson Scoggins, and Discover Darwin. Our podcast is also supported by everyone else in our Patreon family, with special thanks to our amazing close personal friend level Patreon supporters, Matt, Kenneth, Gus and Alicia, Allison, Adriana, Ajax, Jake, Zeb, Zach, Dana B, Blair, Kev, Javier, Ron, Scott, and UH Jeff. Also thanks to Togus Rose 27 and everyone else in our pretty stinking majestic Patreon family.
If you enjoy our family-friendly Weird Al podcast, please consider supporting us at patreon.com/2000inch. There are awesome benefits like getting your name on the podcast, your very own private RSS feed, which gives you early access to each and every one of our bonus episodes, and the self-satisfaction of doing something important with your otherwise pitiful, meaningless existence.
And now would be a good time to join if you haven't already, because you'll be the very first to hear each and every one of our brand new, ridiculously self-indulgent bonus episodes the instant they drop. And don't forget to check out our official merchandise over at shop.2000inch.com. All proceeds from purchases go directly towards supporting our fine podcast.
We love hearing from our listeners and other Weird Al fans, so be sure to join our Facebook community over at group.2000inch.com and visit our Discord server for even more riveting Weird Al and Red Rumped Agouti related conversations. You can find both of those linked over on our website, as well as information about past guests and episodes over at 2000inch.com or weirdalpodcast.com.
And while you're there, you might as well click on ridiculously self-indulgent bonus episodes to follow along with our adventures on tour, or click on Black and White and Weird All Over bonus episodes for our special series where author John Bermuda Schwartz walks us through his book page by page and picture by picture.
Keep up on new episodes, podcast news, and events by following at 2000inch on Facebook, X, and Instagram. And be sure to subscribe everywhere you listen to podcasts so you do not miss a single episode. Not only does subscribing help the podcast, if you do not subscribe, you will be eaten by a dinosaur.
Plus, we also love it when we receive voicemail via our official, patent-pending, 27-hour-a-day podcast hotline 347 Spatula, as seen in the Ringo Award-winning The Illustrated Al. That number is 347-772-8852. Give it a call and you might even hear your message in a future episode.
Thank you once again to our guest Dan Butts for joining us this episode. Thank you to Jeff McClelland, Marnie Farlow, Spencer Parks, Owen Watson, Kenneth Gwinnett, Javier Valdez, Jackson Scoggins, Ryan Rogers, and John Bermuda Schwartz. Thank you to the Grammy Award-winning Jim Kimo West for our incredible podcast theme song, and thank you to the Emmy-nominated Weird Al Yankovic, as his podcast probably would not exist without him.
Thank you for choosing Dave and Ethan's 2000-inch Weird Al podcast, and until next time, remember to Gill and Chill, keep listening to Weird Al, and stay cheesy.
So what do you think really is going on with Z2 Comics and this mini accordion?
I don't know, but I just have this strong suspicion that they did get them, but they were just like a little too big, so they wouldn't qualify as a mini accordion, and they were embarrassed, so they just like have them in dryers, like running nonstop, just hoping that they're just going to get small enough.
But why not just tell us that? Surely the Weird Al superfans who pre-ordered such a premium product would enjoy something silly like that.
I mean, at this point, I'd just be happy for an update. It doesn't even have to be a silly one.
That was Dave and Ethan's 2000-inch Weird Al podcast, episode 205-inch.
Somebody once told me the world is
Damn it, everybody. One day I'm going to be on a podcast and they're going to fucking ask me about this. So get to work.